how might the status game explain some aspects of woke culture?
Woke culture. Wow, we're going straight in there.
Bam.
Well, I mean, so I think the bigger picture to start off with is that the pursuit of status is a human fundamental. Every human being alive is simultaneously pursuing connection with other people. We want to feel like a sense of belonging, but we also want to feel valued by other people. So we're always seeking the respect. So I think of it as we want to be connected and respected. And if you're connected and respected by the people around you, you're generally psychologically healthy. You know, lots of people suffering depression either feel unloved or that they have no value in the world. So connection is a massive thing. Status is also a massive thing. And there are obviously, but pursuing status, pursuing the sense that we are a valuable person is difficult. And there are kind of various routes to status. One is dominance. We can just like push each other around until kind of force them to attend to us in status. That's kind of animalistic, old-fashioned way. But humans also have the other two routes to status. One of them is competence or success. So we can work hard and become really good at something. That's quite difficult. But the other route is virtue. So one way that humans can earn status is by developing the reputation of a virtuous person. So that can be a selfless person, a courageous person, a kind person. But it can also be a person who is very into the kind of moral sphere, the moral rules of the world. They've got their own very rigid set of rules about how the world should be morally, and they enforce those rules to other people. So I think that's the kind of those are the kind of psychological underpinnings of wokeness. I think there's underneath it all is this kind of relentless pursuit of virtue-based status, especially in the kind of social media sphere, because that's where this stuff is harvested a lot.
Interesting. Yeah, I just in my book I was just writing about politeness. Which it's a nice idea, politeness, but I think sometimes it can mean just adherence to societal norms. And with secrets, for example, is the last person you would tell a secret to is a polite person, because they're in the Stasi. If you were a polite Nazi, it's going to dob you in. So what I was going to ask actually was of dominance, success, and virtue. Virtue has to be the most interesting. Do you think?
No, I think it depends on when we're interesting. I think success. I think one of the big ways that the status game research changed the way I see the world is exactly that. Whereas I suppose as a kind of temperamentally left-wing person, I just assumed that if you want to do good in the world, then pursue virtue. Of course, be kind. But that's actually not true. If you look at the history, especially the last 200 or 300 years of the human world, it's people who pursue success who do good in the world. So somebody who will be trying to figure out how to create a vaccine is playing a success game. And the people who've created the vaccines have done more good in the world than all the popes and imams put together, as far as I'm concerned. That's how you do good in the world. You pursue success. That's how you change lives for the better. So that to me is the more interesting route. It's also the more difficult route, but it's also the most sort of impressive route. I mean, there's something just hugely impressive about seeing somebody that is at the top of their game, like an amazing chef, an amazing stand-up comic. Like, it's amazing experiencing what they do, but just seeing that level of insane competence is kind of like a weird kind of pornography. Like, it's amazing to see. So that to me is the most interesting. The virtue-based status, once you see it for what it is, it kind of becomes the most depressing, because it's a lot. It's so circular. It's just every status game has its own particular norms, its own rules of what it believes is right and wrong. They're often local. They're often weird, and it's just people going around in circles enforcing these rules in other people. So it's kind of, you have to ask what good is that doing the world? What good is that doing anyone but themselves?
Is there a sense of people are trying to be successful, but some can't, right? Not everybody can be the most successful person in the tribe. And do they then often lean towards one of either being a bit of a bully, dominance, or virtue, which is showing everyone how wonderful and nice they are?
Well, I think one of the important things to know about status is that it isn't about being the best. It's just about being respected by other people. So it's not that we have to be the best chef in the world or even the best chef in the restaurant, but you have to be, it's just that feeling of like, I'm pretty good at this.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And it's important that other people reflect that back at us too. Like, other people kind of give us the gift of prestige, that kind of form of status. So it's not that we all have to be the best or even want to be the best. Actually, when you ask most people don't want to be at the very top, because at the very top comes all this pressure and responsibility, and it's really the kind of alpha A players that pursue that kind of peak performance. Most people aren't that insane.
Yeah.
But there is some truth in what you say, and I think a lot of that you can see culturally over the last maybe 20 years. My kind of theory about one of the things that's responsible for the rise of woke culture is that, I'm a Gen Xer, so I was raised in the 80s, 90s, and early noughties, which were this kind of peak, the peak era of the success game kind of culture, where success was what was valued, like most of all, especially beginning in the 80s. And so success games were kind of really defined Western culture in a major way. And I think that certainly the perception and definitely a lot of the reality is that for millennials and Gen Z people, those success games have become much harder because the economic, especially since the financial crisis, the economic sphere has become much tougher. So there's the perception, and the perception is what matters, not the reality. People think that the game is fixed. People think that there's no point pursuing success because I'm not going to get this. I've got this huge student debt. I'm not going to get on the property ladder. It's all fixed by these straight white men who are just ruling the world unfairly. And so what do you do if you can't source your status in the world of success? You move to virtue, because that's another reliable way of earning status. And I think that's part of the reason why we've seen particularly young people move into, because there is such a generational divide. It's primarily Gen Z and millennial people, as far as I can see, who've moved into this kind of very kind of angry, aggressive, virtue-based status play that is wokeism.
I suppose because what else can you do at that age? Because I remember being a student and I would go on like dates with girls.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking back now, like, what the hell did I talk about when I was 18 on a date? Like, what did I say? Like, apart from my mum does this and that, or like my teacher at school is such a difficult, how do you, and then you see, I guess we were all putting like the same posters up to show how individual we were and in dorms, everybody had that one of Train Spotting, choose this, choose that, Goodfellas and Pulp Fiction. And it's like, look how individual I am. This is who I am. I'm this different, maybe successful, interesting person. And I suppose at that age, it is a difficult time to express any kind of success because you haven't had it yet.
Yeah.
But by being virtuous, you're able to join a cause and fight. Is that it?
We're always playing status games, and they're kind of groupish. So that's right, that we all seek to join these groups because the group defines what is high status behavior, what kind of behavior and beliefs are going to earn you status, and what kind of beliefs and behavior are going to remove status from you. And so that's why it's a game. There are these rules, and depending on how well we play by the rules, we kind of rise or fall in status. And that's true of all human groups, whether it's religion, a cult, business, whatever it is. That status game stuff is always going on.
You speak of growing up in sort of the success times when success was most valued as a status game, but I suppose there was also a bit more dominance, wasn't it? I suppose I feel like the movie stars of the time would show off about like if they've slept with lots of women and if they're quite big and boisterous. And so that's moved away, has it? Maybe.
Well, I'm not sure that sexual success is dominance.
Okay.
I mean, I think that's a kind of separate. That I would think. I mean, not all of status play is dominance, virtue, and success. Things like being good looking is none of those things. Age has status things attached to it. It's not really attached to anything. And I think sexual success probably isn't either. It's this. I mean, if anything, it's is it competence? I don't know. If you're playing the game of the picture with the pickup artists, those people, that's like a weird kind of competence-based success game where you're measuring your status by how successful you are at having sex with people. But
I think of the casting rooms, the Harvey Weinsteins. Like dominance was. Does it feel more enabled back in the day, more allowed?
I don't think so, because dominance is really about coercion. So a dominance game would be the army. It would be a boxing. Doing boxing. So when you're literally forcing people to attend to you in status, that's dominance. Like if you think about it in the animal realm, when two chickens are pecking at each other to establish a pecking order, that's dominance. Yeah, I don't think it really has anything to do with sex, unless you're, of course, you're forcing someone to, like in a Harvey Weinstein situation. That's, of course, that, I don't think even that's about status. That's just about being a
monster.
Being a monster. Yeah.
We can say it. He's in prison.
Yeah.
He won't come and get us. Yeah. Hopefully. Yeah. One of the things I've been trying to think about when addressing woke culture, I think people are often surprised I have to tell them about this YouTube channel I've got, and they're like, "Oh, but you." I think they think of me as quite mild-mannered, maybe, and you're also quite mild-mannered. And we've written books, we're sort of bookish, I suppose. Is it important with regards to status, for other people to see people like us talking about this rather than what they might imagine, which is like a big, horrible Nick Griffin, who Americans won't know who Nick Griffin is, or even Trump, who's just so not very statesmanlike?
I mean, maybe. I don't think it's going to make an awful lot of difference, to be honest. Like if people want to attack us for not signing up to the latest status game that's out there very much in the arts, which is the games that we play, writing books and in the media, then they're going to. I mean, I know you've suffered a bit of that, and so it's just going to happen. I don't think they care very much whether we look like Joe Rogan or Nick Griffin or one of these people.
To what extent is cancel culture then actually happening in sort of the book world, publishing, the arts, media? Because I know people are hearing.
I think how wokeness manifests in the publishing industry is various ways. I mean, one of the ways, of course, is in there's a limited space in things like book reviews pages, literary festivals, and with the heavy emphasis on diversity, I think there's a much greater interest in populating those spaces in the politically correct way. Can't have too many straight white men, for example. That's sort of a cancer to these kinds of people. Yeah. So there's a sense that it's the level of meritocracy isn't there anymore, has diminished.